Hello, what's up? I thought I'll come and do a Foodocracy India chat with everyone. Foodocracy India is where I speak about happy eating experiences from across the country. I had started this when soon after the lockdown had started, and the idea then was to sort of give a little tribute, a little humble tribute to all the wonderful restaurants and eateries which are there across the country, and where we've had some wonderful meals, and where people have some fantastic meals and have lots of happy memories from. When I started this, the country was completely under lockdown, and the restaurants were shut. And then slowly things began opening up. As they opened up, there were deliveries and happening at home, and we would also order in from some of our favorite restaurants. And now restaurants have begun to open up, and slowly, we are also surfacing. So, we've went to Candies again, and that's the only restaurant I've visited so far, which is in the neighborhood last weekend and this. And when we did the staycation at the ITC Maratha a couple of weekends back, then as well. So great to see people joining in. Someone was asking me about Courtyard Nashik. So yes, I was in Nashik last week for a couple of days, and I did stay at the Courtyard Nashik. It's a new hotel, very nice property. This time, unlike in my earlier trip to Nashik in March, I did not really move around much in search of local food. Again, because of the pandemic situation, so one is just being cautious. But this time, the folks I was working with, the folks at bookerworkshop.in, and I was shooting some workshops with them. So they got mutton curry and bhakri from Dyutya Butlia, which is a very popular mutton based restaurant doing Khandeshi food in Nashik. Last time, of course, I went to a place called Renuka Khanawal, which was spoken about in Foodocracy India, and where I had the mutton thali. But and of course, Tushar Misal, where I had the misal, and Sayantara, where I had the sabudana vada. And hi, like everyone who's saying hi, like absolutely say hi over here, and so on. It's great to catch up with everyone on the Instagram live chat. And it's while I've been speaking about Nashik and mutton and misal, this talk is not about that. I'm going to speak to you about idlis, and I'm going to take you all the way to Chennai, where also possibly people have the fan on, like I have here. It's not winter in Mumbai means that okay, you don't need the air conditioning at all points, but you still need the fan, and a t-shirt or a shirt and jeans is just good enough. So those of you in the north, in your woolies, and those of you in Calcutta in the monkey caps, well, enjoy the cold weather. Now, idlis. I would never have thought that I would have done a chat or talk on idlis. Till a very long time in my life, I didn't really see what was the fascination or wonderful things about idlis. And then when my book came out, The Traveling Belly, it actually has a picture of a gentleman at Bandra East who ran a counter where I used to go and have medu vadas and idlis. So how did this transition happen? And yes, like Nidhi Arora is saying, most folks she knows from Calcutta would not speak about idli, and I wouldn't. But I've also been in Mumbai for 20 years now, so and I think that counts for something. Now, okay. Now let me for a moment focus on the chat, and I'm not going to focus on the chat box for a bit. So I was introduced to South Indian food very early in my life in Kolkata when we'd come back from Iran and England. My one of our teachers in the Calcutta International School had told my mom that maybe he might try some masala dosa, and my mom sent me and my uncle who had come to pick me up from school, Calcutta International School. I was about 8 or 9 years old then, and we went to this place called Rim Jim at Kamak Street, Calcutta, shut now, and I had a masala dosa. Now I could hardly handle spice, and that potato spice and masala made me perspire. And I told my mom later, "What did you do?" But as we were growing up, I think we started enjoying South Indian vegetarian food, which is primarily dosa and vadas. So dosas are just like fried, slightly crunchy, you know, and the medu vada is also nice and crunchy and deep fried. So as kids, that's something which you'll like and enjoy. But something idli, I don't think we ever really ordered. Then, as my friend Nidhi Bruce is saying, who's also written books, and she's doing some very interesting courses where she's teaching people as a life coach, and also about people who want to write books. So she's doing some fascinating stuff, and both of us belong to the same industry, or did belong to the same industry, market research. So yeah, so Nidhi's so Nidhi is right when she said that idlis are very common in Mumbai. And when I came to Mumbai, I saw that people were quite obsessed with vegetarian food, and especially the South Indian food, and everyone would go to the idli joints and sort of this thing. And Matunga is in central Mumbai is really the hub for South Indian vegetarian food in Mumbai, with places like Madras Cafe and a whole lot of other places. I've been there a few times. It's not really my favorite hunting ground, I must confess. And then there are a few places like Fort, where you get some very nice South Indian places. I used to go to a place called Swagat near the Lakshmi Building, which is lovely. But I used to work in IMRB in Dadar, and later Nielsen which was then at Volta's house, where Nidhi used to work as well. And then I live in Bandra. So all these areas have UDP restaurants, no doubt, but nothing too good. And they primarily aim more for a Gujarati clientele, or Marwari clientele, than a South Indian one. So the sambar you get in these places are sugary. I mean, people blame it on UDP, but I don't think I've eaten at Mitra Samaj in UDP. It's not so sweet, and the idlis were normally rock hard. I've of course not had too much of home cooked idli at that point, except when my friend Charu, who was with us in market research, and she's now a writer, Charu Kesi, she does a lot of travel writing as well. So her mom, whenever she go to Chennai, her mom would send idlis covered with podi and gunpowder and this thing. But I never found anything to be fascinated in idli. That changed, incidentally, when I went to Hyderabad on work, and a lot of people, a lot of my readers on my blog, Finely Chop, said you should go and try a place called Chutneys, which at that time was new in Banjara Hill. And I went and had the chutney there, and I had the idli there, and the idli came with 4 types of chutneys, and it was really soft, and each chutney was beautiful. There was like peanut chutney, there was coconut chutney, this, that, tamarind, whatever, and there's a bit of ghee to put on it, and the puri masala. And I think chutneys in Hyderabad is where I fell in love with idlis. Then in Bangalore, I went to MTR and had the famous rava idli, which technically is not an idli. It's almost like more like an upma, tightly packed in an idli shape, and a bit of there's a bit of history to it. I'm told that in the 1940s, during the war, when there was a rice shortage, then the owners of the MTR at that time came up with the idea of making an upma idli, probably because rava or semolina was cheaper and easier to procure than rice. Then in Mumbai, I went to this sort of Matunga area, where I went to the Idli house, which is run by the younger generation of the folks behind Ramanayak. And they had some really interesting idlis, like Thota Idli, which is with jackfruit. Someone just said Thatte Idli in Bangalore. Yes, I've not had that. But I had some very nice idlis in Veena store in Bangalore. Yeah, that is nice. Very, very soft, very fluffy, which is Veena store, I think it's in Baleshwaram, which is the old part of Bangalore. You'll find a lot of my idli stories in my book, The Travelling Belly. And so idli house was nice. And I tried various varieties like the Thotu idli, which had jackfruit and this, that. But my favorite was the pepper idli, with a little bit of black pepper in it. And then where else? So Hyderabad ho gaya, Bangalore ho gaya. And yes, of course, Chennai. That's what I want to speak to you about. So in Chennai, in one of my recent trips, just before I finished writing the draft for my book for the Travelling Belly, I was staying at the ITC Chola, and I had some very soft idlis over there, which Chef Ajit Bangara, who's the executive chef over there, told me about the fact that the recipe is based on what he's learned from his mother, and the softness really comes from the amount of time in which the dough is sort of fermented and kneaded. He said that it's really about how much you stir and blend the idli. Look, I'm not an idli expert, but apparently, like, there's a lot of, like, he said, almost 45 minutes of churning of the batter went into it, which made it so soft. Now, of course, like, I don't think the regular person every day would go into an ITC and have idlis there. And funnily enough, when I went to have vegetarian food in Chennai, because it seemed to be all about the biryanis, the Ambur biryani and the Dindigul biryani and chicken 65 and all that. So no, Chennai is not all about vegetarian food. Um, so when I wanted to go to vegetarian food with Chef Bangera, I went to a place called Woodlands. You'll find all this in my book, The Traveling Belly. I'm also sort of promoting that. Buy it. Why not? Makes a nice Christmas gift. So we went to a place called Woodland, which is very popular among the local Tamilians of Chennai to go out, and I was told that um, oh, sorry, I saw the chat box and distracted. I was told that that too is Udupi run. So apparently the vegetarian restaurants in Chennai also Udupi run, and the Tamilians are happy to cook vegetarian food at home and have it. Udupi run as in the Shetty community from Mangalore. Well, yeah, Woodland, nice one. But my friend Amit Patnaik, whom you've often heard about when I've spoken about Delhi places like Sardar Meat Wala at Sadar Bazaar and some of the other places, which Amit and I have visited. So he was in Chennai at that point, and we met for dinner. And before dinner, he said, "No, I have to take you to the beach, and we'll have freshly fried fish." And then he took me to a place called Murugan Idli, where he said you have to have a drink called Jigar Thanda or a dessert. So what happened was there was a huge queue to enter. I'm talking of 2-3 years back. No, my book's been 4 years old. It just completed 4 years a few days back. So which means that I'm talking of 5 years back. So huge queue to enter, and it's and we went to the branch at Besan Nagar. So there are many branches of Murugan Idli. Later I looked up the website and learned that it actually started at Madurai in Chennai, and apparently their style of making idlis is the Chettina style of making idlis. Well, I wouldn't know the Chettina style if it came and hit me on my face, but well, what I can tell you is the idli was super. So Jigar Thanda, nothing too interesting. But I have slowly sort of lost my interest for too sweet desserts, and I've moved more towards the dark chocolate side. Blave kind of for that, my wife. And the Jigar Thanda honestly sort of reminded me of something called Mewar ice cream, which we get in Mumbai. So there are these thelawalas in South Mumbai who send like a mix of technicolored ice creams. And my favorite used to be the fruit salad when I was working in Churchgate at FC Bulka, where I met Kanas. So okay, I had a bit, and then Amit said, "Look, we need to have the idli also." I said, "But we are supposed to have dinner at ITC," and I had invited him to join me. No, you have to. So Amit has this way of being very persuasive, and yeah, Nidhi is saying it's overrated. I agree. So Amit has this way of being very persuasive, and I always give in because whenever he's recommended anything to me, it's very good. So he said, "Let's go in and have the idli." Now we did a bit of ghafla there, like scam. So don't tell people about it. It's just a secret. I'm just telling you about it. It's there in my book, but we won't tell people about it otherwise. So there was a huge queue to get in, and we also had to go to the ITC where I was staying for dinner. So we went in, and the people at the door, person at the door said the queue. So okay, now this is something which I'm not very proud of, but it was all for a good cause. Don't do this. I won't recommend this at all. I mean, but. So I went at the gate and very confidently said, "We've just come to collect our parcel." So he said, "Okay." So that's what these, you shouldn't, trust these Bombay fellows. In Chennai, they're all very well behaved and orderly. They would never do this, but Bombay guy grown up in Calcutta, he's a bit street smart. So when we said we've come for a parcel, they let us in, and then there was a waiter. We confidently went up to them and said, "Table," and he sat us at a table, and so we placed our order, and Amit was very clear. He went and said, "Podi idli," and so that's what. And then we were looking around and we saw that I think on banana leaves, like the food was being served, and there were everything actually. There were idlis being served, medu vadas being served, the dosas being served, and interestingly, I'm not sure if they did sambar, but there was a coconut chutney. Like even in Bangalore, in most places, they don't serve sambar. I remember in my first MTR experience when I went, I asked for sambar, and then they had to find it from somewhere because they normally give only coconut chutney. Later, went to other places like CTR or to MTR again, Veena. Yet to go to Brahmins cafe in Bangalore. No, no sambar, so it was chutney. I need to go and check my blog and see if there was sambar or not. But Amit told me that look around, so I did. And so Amit Soria, I'm Bengali, two of us sitting in a South Indian joint in the heart of Chennai. And he said, look around. So I looked around. And he said that if you notice all the tables, they're like crowds of mixed generation. And so Nidhi's Arora saying you get multiple chutneys, not sambar. And I'm going to say hi to Sitstagram as well. Okay, so there were people in each table. There were many people sitting, and of different ages. So then Amit said that this is something which I've noticed in Chennai, and which I really like. That if you go to a restaurant, you'll see that the entire family comes. So you'll have the parents, you'll have the grandparents, you'll have the grandkids, maybe great grandkids in some cases. But he said that people come out as a family in Chennai, which he said you don't always see in other cities nowadays, and people across generations. And they go and he was saying that they go to the same sort of places. So it's not that the younger generation wants to go only to the cafes and pubs and bars or fast food joints or whatever and stuff. So he said that, and at that point Amit was living as a bachelor on work at Chennai. So he said that he found this very comforting that you go alone to eat and you're surrounded by happy faces, Christmassy faces perhaps, and it's very comforting. So you never know how a person feels sitting in the restaurant. Sometimes people can feel alone also. And now restaurants are opening. I'm sure the Murugans in Chennai must have opened. And with the social distancing norms and all that. Look, I've seen a lot of posts saying that, let's go out and support the industry and so on. I agree with that. But find out your way of comfort. Like if you want to order in. If you can't, and if you want to cook food at home for various reasons, either affordability or health, do that. Don't let anyone tell you what to do. But if you do go out, it's lovely. I mean, maintain precautions, wear a mask. That's one more thing. If you go to a restaurant, please wear a mask except when the food comes, because the people in the restaurant have worked really hard to keep it like a safe space for us. I think that's the least we can do. Okay, enough chatter. So the idli came, and they put the idli on the thing, and there were sambars, the chutneys which you put on the banana leaves. So that's sort of spread out, and then there was pori masala and I think the ghee. So that's why I became a fan of adding pori and ghee to my dish. Also, I was first introduced to the concept in Nagarjuna, Andhra place in Hyderabad, and then later when I went to Vizag, beginning of last couple of years back, and they also sort of love their pori masala gunpowder. Theni Pukal is saying you can also get sambar on request at Murugan Idli. So anyway, this is Murugan Idli, a regular place where at that time I remember that all the dishes were less than $20. And versus, say, for example, ITC, which I was speaking of earlier, where a lot of attention care had put in to get the idlis to that level of softness. But in this also, it's like a regular place across the city, very reasonable, packed with like family crowds and people of all classes, very affordable, almost like a Candies of Chennai in a sense. Or we got examples across the country. How soft was the idli? It was like, if Baby Loaf was here, my cat, he's in the other room, the elder one, like squishy, So it's very, very, very soft. And then you put in the gunpowder or the pori masala on that, and a bit of the ghee, and then pop up the chutney, put it into your mouth, and hear the birds sing. It had become dark by then, but I could still hear like the world opening up. Nidhi, are you in Dubai now or Mumbai? Because if you're in Mumbai, I do have a solution for you. But anyway, so it was like a big cloud, like Nidhi. Okay, there are two Nidhis who are talking in the chat. There's Nidhi Bruce, who was in market research earlier and is now a life coach and doing talks on how to write books and has written a book herself. And then there's Nidhi Arora, who I think works in hotels. So just so that you don't get it's Nidhi that side and Nidhi that side, as people in Delhi would say. But jokes apart, thanks for your contributions. Okay, Nidhi's in Dubai, so then I can't do anything about that. But yes, so it was soft and it's soaked in the ghee, so it got that little butteriness, and the podi masala, which is a sort of dried chili based spice powder, had a nice crunch to it also. There's a bit of salt, bit of sudden tikhaness, chili heat, and then with the chutney, which is the coconut chutney, which then sort of balances the chili heat. Not that it's very spicy. It's so good that we kept ordering more. We kept ordering more, so we didn't eat much in the restaurant later at the hotel. But that was fun. So one quick thing before I say bye to you, and I'll tell you why I suddenly thought of doing this talk on Idli and Murugan, because early in the day we got food from a home chef called Perima's Kitchen. You might have seen a reel of that, and I'm going to do a video on that because the food was fabulous and put it up. This is the second time I've had food from Perima's Kitchen. It's a home chef enterprise, I think, set up during the lockdown by a lady called Meena Subramanian. Meena is a Mumbaiker. I've not met her so far. We've just interacted on Instagram. She was born here, but her parents, who are in their 90s, had come in from Tirunelveli in Tamil Nadu, and the food cooked in her home is of the sort over there, and that's what she offers. In fact, she sources her sambar and rasam powder and hing still from Tirunelveli, and in fact her gingery oil comes from her village in Tirunelveli, or so she tells me. So I earlier had a sort of a brunch which she'd done with rasam vada and some other very nice things, filter coffee. Today she sent a sort of a lunch thing. You will see it on my reels. I'll put up a story too. But what sparked off this foodocracy for her chat is, Nidhi Bruce's dad is also from Tirunelveli. So maybe I should connect you with Perima later, and maybe you might see that. No, so Perima means Barima, she told me, which is like an aunt in Tamil. So her name is Meena. So you might find a common connection. Yes, so Nidhi, I'm glad you joined in again. So that is Nidhi, that's Nidhi Bruce, whose dad is from Tirunelveli. And so that's it's so good to see you, Nidhi. Now, so among the various things in lunch were mini idlis. So I took it out, and my wife is not too fond of idlis. I said, you just try it with some coconut chutney, because I know that Meena's food is very good. So she liked it, and then as I was having it, it was so soft. Okay, now Pagare Josna Subramanian's number. Please go to Instagram and look at Perima's Kitchen, the Instagram handle, because actually I chat with her on the DM, so I'm not sure if I have her number, but on the Perima's Kitchen page she has her number, contacts or whatever. So very, very soft idli, with the coconut chutney. So I had 3-4 of that for lunch. And then after I was wrapping up from lunch and I was putting up the stuff, and there was quite a bit, so there were more idlis. So I sort of removed the banana leaf in which it was covered, and saw those are the ones below are pori idlis. So the ones on top are plain idlis, and the ones below are pori idlis with the masala and the ghee and softness and all that. So listen, I guys, I got to go now. Thanks so much for joining, because I've kept those pori idlis from Perima's for evening, and it's 6:10, and I've realized I'm now very hungry. So I would have loved to keep chatting with you, but I'm going to. I mean, I would never have thought that I'm going to run in my life for idlis. I would in the past told you that guys keep talking. There are idlis only at home, but that's life. That's as you brought in your mind and experiences, everything changes. So earlier I would have probably had the same expression if there was an egg roll or mutton roll around. I still would. And in fact, I ordered for some of that for my brother in Gurgaon through Vikramjit Roy's new venture, Park Street. Brother said it's pretty good. So do try it out. Yesterday he had the egg chicken rolls. I sent mutton biryani. They're having it today. Oh, that's what the Bengalis do. Like, any discussion finally comes down to mutton. But look, guys, I need to go. I need to go and have some idlis. Thanks, Nidhi. Dinner is a long way away. And I think dinner is exciting because Shabnam Mukadam, who runs Cooking Fiesta just down the road from where we live, she's promised some mutton biryani and mutton nihari for dinner. Ye dekho. fish se mutton. Okay. Thank you, Nidhi Bruce. Thank you, Nidhi Arora, and thank you everyone else who joined in. Okay, bye. Okay, I said okay, bye, but I have to say how to end this. Yes. Okay, see you guys. Take care.